So in order to be evaluated, is this the process that you email you and say, here's our organization, can we set up an appointment?
That's correct.
Okay.
We operate, we're a small organization. We don't have formal processes per se. Not to say that we don't take careful time and consideration in terms of how we invest our money, but we don't create a lot of barriers to having the conversation, and we'd like to connect with our potential grantees on a direct basis. So feel free to contact me directly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Good morning. I'm Janie Amis from the Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center. So thank you for coming today and introducing your foundation to us. Sort of to piggyback to the previous question, I think your answer sort of perhaps answered my question of, are there any particular deadlines that we need to be aware of, or is it really pretty unique to the relationship building that you're going to be starting?
Yeah, we accept grant requests on a rolling basis, and the process typically is that I'll get contacted. Based on my own research, I'll make the determination as to whether or not you pass the first 3 to 6 filters, and based on that, there may be reason for us to continue the conversation. And at the same time, I'll be very quick to come back and say, hey, we admire and love the work you do, because I do admire and love all the work that you do. But you may not be a good fit for us. So the good thing is you won't waste a lot of time and energy putting together extensive proposals to get some immediate feedback, that it's a pretty quick process one way or another. And then once I deem that the first 6 filters are satisfied, then we'll continue the conversation and get to know each other, and perhaps that will lead to an organizational evaluation, and it might lead to a small grant or a small project that we work on together, and then we'll see where things go over time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, thanks.
Dick Obermans, a member of the local committee of the Presbyterian Self-Development of People program.
Okay.
Part of your model is to build capacity in organizations, and then to encourage other foundations, other funders to get involved. Have you found that is successful, that you've been able to do that in any instances? Are there other foundations that are interested in coming on stream after you've gotten something going?
Very much so. Certainly the best example I have of that is the work we've done over the last year or two with the Cleveland Foundation to expand the capacity of microlending in Cleveland. So, where our mission and their mission overlap, we've found great receptivity to working together collaboratively to identify the opportunity and co-invest in different projects. We're finding that same with the Gun Foundation. We're also finding that with specifically with College Now for both those 2 organizations. And our intent is to reach out and connect with other foundations who share in our mission, in hopes that we can be more helpful to organizations like yourselves and those that are represented in this room.
Good morning. I'm Tina Sell from Cleveland State University Graduate Grant Writing Center. I have a question about the BVU slide.
Okay.
To the right, it mentioned 3 sessions, which apparently are ongoing.
That's correct, yes.
Is that rolling? Does that program keep going? And if so, do we contact you to see about enrolling in it?
You'd actually contact BVU directly.
Okay.
Certainly you're welcome to contact me as well if you prefer. It's going to be an ongoing program. It's actually in its pilot phase right now. It's underway with these first 10 organizations. And based on the feedback we've gotten so far, we found that it's going to be, there's a lot of demand for it, number one, and number 2, the method by which the information is being delivered and how it's being coordinated has been deemed already as a success. So we're going to continue it, likely have another session in the fall, and we'll probably have it 2 times a year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Ann Hunter with the Career Transition Center. Just wondered what parameters do you use to determine economically disadvantaged? Are there specific income levels, or is it situationally based?
I would say it's based on the same criteria that the federal government determines, someone to be living in poverty. Okay. And so we use that as our basic criteria. But we also know that, and in some of our work, it extends beyond that. The working poor might not be considered poor by government standards, but from our perspective, those are the very people we want to be most helpful to. So, we tend to, depending on the organization and its focus, we may expand on that definition of what poverty means.
Okay. What about unemployment? So it might not be somebody that's long-term in poverty, but temporarily due to unemployment. Would that be something that you would consider?
It would depend on the type of program that you're doing. It would determine whether or not we would be helpful in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
So I'd have to learn more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I'm Tim Smith with Community Greenhouse Partners. Most grants we've found are directly program-based or results-based, or they want to fund a particular thing. And I know some organizations, including my own, frankly, have more operational needs and just capacity building to, can we get to the next level? Sort of, we need that hand up as opposed to the hand out. Do you guys consider those kind of grants that may include some capital and some just operational funding for that?
We do. I mean, as an example with Bad Girl Ventures, let's just say that our investment level was $50,000 last year. $25,000 of that went into their loan fund that then was given to the first recipient of the BGV competition, and the other $25,000 was used to support operating expenses. So 50-50 ratio would be probably a fair statement in many cases.
All right, great, thanks.
Tony Gianfagna with Heartstrings. Do you consider organizations that are brand new, or do you look for organizations that have been working maybe for a few years?
Well, typically it's an organization that's been in operation for at least a year. That would be BGV would be another example of a relatively young organization that we invested pretty significantly at a pretty early stage in the process. But that's because of their mission fit and our belief in their leadership and some other, intangible factors. So, as a general rule, it's 1 year or more, but we're always open to new opportunities.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
sure.
Anything that you want to say to the audience? Or
Well, the only thing I'd like to say is that I do, in fact, appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I very much admire the work you do. Being an executive director or just being a manager or development director at a nonprofit, in my opinion, is the hardest job in America and perhaps the world. So I understand how challenging it can be, and I'm very thankful that I'm able to be helpful in some way, shape, or form through the foundation that I work for. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Bill, for joining us today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.